There is a chance that you might not have even heard of this movie. I say that because I barely saw any marketing for it, but I watched it because I knew someone who worked on it actually. Atlas. So Atlas is a new sci-fi movie on Netflix, and it stars Jennifer Lopez. Yeah, J-Lo in a sci-fi. Alright, this movie takes place way in the future. Like, this has got to be thousands of years forward. And we have AI, artificial intelligence, living among us, but a bunch of them have gone rogue and turned against humanity, led by an AI terrorist named Harlan, played by Simu Liu. Okay. So analyst Atlas Shepard, played by J-Lo, volunteers to go take him down, cause he's on another planet preparing for war. And so off we go. And yeah, I heard this movie was downright terrible. Like, you look at Rotten Tomatoes, it's got like 16%. So I went into this movie going, oh, that's a bummer. But I don't know what to say, man. This review might not be what you expect, cause I actually found myself enjoying it. Yeah, if peer pressure says I'm supposed to hate this movie, well, I ain't succumbing to that shit. It's not the best movie ever, not everything makes logical sense, but there's some pretty cool stuff in this movie, dude. I can't deny it. But first, as usual, we'll start with the characters. Jennifer Lopez as Atlas Shepard. J-Lo's great and all. She's a great singer, she's an awesome dancer, and Ben Affleck is certainly super lucky to have put a ring on her. But acting-wise, I'd say she's decent at best. I mean, there are some scenes in this movie where I totally did buy her character. I was like, yeah, alright, that's good acting there. But then there are some scenes where I did feel she was overcooking it a little bit. She's being a little overdramatic, and those scenes I didn't quite buy so much. Yeah, J-Lo's acting in this movie is 50-50. You could flip a coin to see where it would land. Either decent or not so decent. Never great, though. Yeah, never like Cillian Murphy in Oppenheimer or Angela Bassett in Black Panther Wakanda Forever, where you're like, oh my god, this is god-tier acting. I don't see her getting nominated for any awards for Atlas. But actually, the strongest point of this movie is that she gets paired up with this AI named Smith. This AI has not gone rogue. He's programmed to protect and help Atlas. He's voiced by Gregory James Cohen. And the thing about this is that Atlas has a strong distrust of any AI because of Harlan, the terrorist played by Simu Liu, who I'll get to in a second. So Atlas just automatically distrusts all AI. The movie is really all about Atlas and Smith learning to get along with each other and Atlas learning to trust Smith. And as for Smith himself, he actually ended up being my favorite character in the movie. Yeah, the disembodied voice ended up being my favorite character in a movie with J-Lo and Simu Liu. What does that say about their performances? But Smith had all the personality. He has the most personality of anyone in the movie. I thought he was really cool, and he has funny moments too. Hilarious back and forth dialogue with Atlas.
Shit.
You're in my head and the only thing you learn how to do is curse?
I'm an adaptive learner.
This relationship is at the forefront of this movie, and I actually thought it worked pretty well. I liked it. Again, I know peer pressure says I'm not supposed to, apparently, but I guess I'm just built different. I found myself rooting for these two, more so Smith than Atlas, admittedly, because Smith is he's more fun of a character. Which then, though, that does bring us to Harlan, played by Simu Liu, and I'm gonna go ahead and say that this character was miscast. Cause at this point, we all know that Simu Liu is great, whether you've seen him in Shang-Chi or in Barbie. The guy is just so damn likable because he always oozes so much personality and charisma. This movie, Atlas, sucked all of that out of Simu Liu and made him an emotionless villain. Yeah, Harlan is pretty boring. You could tell they were trying to go for the Darth Vader type where just by him being in the room, you can tell he's supposed to be in charge of everything. You're scared of him because of his presence. In that, I would have cast someone like Austin Butler, you know, Fade from Dune Part 2. Someone you could buy as a little unhinged and scary because of that. And I don't think Simu Liu is the guy for that. I just don't. So yeah, the villain in this movie is kind of a minus point here. Like I said though, I enjoyed this movie. It's not a masterpiece. I don't see this movie being on my top 10 movies of 2024 list, but I just have to face the fact that there's some pretty cool shit in this movie. In fact, I would even go so far as to say that this movie is more cool than it is good. There is a difference. I mean, the Transformers movies have some cool shit in them. Doesn't make them great. You see what I mean. I love the tech in this movie. That's one of the coolest things about it is in this futuristic setting, everyone has an AI something or other. It's like Blade Runner kind of, but less serious and directed by someone who's not as competent of a director as Ridley Scott or Denis Villeneuve. It is the smallest bit more lighthearted. Point is, you see some of the gadgets in this movie and you can't help but be like, I want that. Again, the relationship between Atlas and Smith, it actually kind of reminded me of the movie Her. You know, the relationship between Joaquin Phoenix and Samantha, Scarlett Johansson, the AI. Except in this movie, it's not romantic at all. I saw some Twitter comments where like, J-Lo and the AI confess that they have romantic feelings towards each other in this movie. It's gross. I was just like, it's not like that in this movie at all. At least I never got that. They never say they love each other or anything like that. They just learn to work together in a really badass way, I thought. And I thought it was really cool to see. Which then we get to the action scenes in this movie, and and the visual effects. And the best way I could summarize it is this movie is like the most awesome, badass video game I've never played. Because it mostly takes place on another foreign Star Wars looking planet, and the visual effects are actually not that good in this movie. That is to say that the CG environment looks like PlayStation 4 or 5 graphics, which had me thinking this would be a really cool video game to play. And then we get to some big action fight scenes, and I was like, this would be a badass video game to play. In fact, I've played some stuff like this very recently in Stellar Blade. Side note, if you haven't played Stellar Blade yet, you should. It's awesome. I'm on my 3rd playthrough of that game. It gets better every time. But seriously, in this movie, there's even one fight scene where I was like, I've played this exact boss fight in Stellar Blade, except this time it's reverse. In Stellar Blade, you're the AI fighting a big mech. In this movie, the protagonist is the big mech fighting the villain AI. Still doesn't change the fact that I was like, I just played this boss fight in Stellar Blade last week. It was cool though, and point is, yeah, this movie does feel like a really cool video game. I do feel like for this story in particular, the optimal version of it would have been an awesome PS5 video game. Instead, it's a 2-hour Netflix movie starring Jennifer Lopez. That's what we got. And I do kind of understand, I'm guessing the movie's budget didn't exactly allow for on-location shooting. I don't know what the budget was, but judging from what I saw in the movie when I watched it last night, I imagine it wasn't very big. So fine, they made do with what they had. Got themselves a pretty good score out of the whole deal. It's composed by Andrew Lockington, and yeah, there's some pretty good stuff here. Good strings, good synth elements. It actually does a really good job at enhancing the more emotional, dramatic scenes, especially towards the end of the movie. It was good. It's good stuff. So in the end, I guess this review is gonna end with an AITA question. Am I the asshole for liking a movie that I'm apparently supposed to hate? I'm gonna go ahead and say no, because opinions in film are all subjective. We all know that. That's common knowledge. And a celebrated fact among moviegoers all over the world. Like what you like, love what you love, hate what you hate. Because at the end of the day, we all just love movies. And I thought Atlas was pretty cool. I like the setting and the characters for the most part. The relationship between Atlas and Smith I thought was awesome. The movie's not entirely logical. Not everything makes complete sense. In fact, a lot of things don't. I acknowledge that, and that's most likely the biggest reason that this movie's probably not going to be on my top 10 movies of 2024 list. And I do think that this story would have been better off as a video game. But that's just my opinion. So Atlas, have you watched it? What are your thoughts on it? And for you, what is that movie that everyone says you're supposed to hate, but you actually think is pretty cool? Whatever you think, go ahead and leave a comment. It's a safe space. We can all talk about it here. I won't judge. And of course, thank you for subscribing. Peace!